Welcome back, everybody, to my final review of the finale of The Last of Us. I think I said that wrong. But anyways, we are here to talk about the last episode, the finale of Last of Us Season 1, and what an emotional roller coaster it has been so far. And this is coming from someone that has played the game 3 times. I don't want to say I doubted HBO, but I always said, and you can look it up anywhere, I was always curious. I have played the game, and it was such a narrative, straight line game where, yeah, you can, discover more, pills for power-ups, more, weapon upgrades and stuff like that, find some more notes, find some more Firefly emblems, some more comic books. But no matter what, it wasn't like a decision-based game, like Until Dawn or something. You can't affect the outcome of the game. Sorry. There's only one ending. And all the emotional beats I'd played through plenty of times, Henry and Sam, Frank and Bill, all of the David stuff, obviously. There's so many huge moments in this story. And I was wondering, so what is HBO going to bring to the table? They're really great at making, what is now known as prestige television. And boy, did they ever surpass my expectations. This is easily the best video game adaptation. Because Arcane isn't quite like an adaptation of League of Legends. It incorporates the characters and some of their lore. And same with, Sonic. Same with Castlevania. Actually, Castlevania, I'm not really sure because I never really played the game. Someone tell me in the comments if Castlevania is like a direct story from the games because I'm really curious. I love Castlevania. One of my favorite shows. I've watched it so many times. I might watch it again, honestly. But as for like the straight one-to-one adaptation, this is like insurmountable, unsurpassable. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey have absolutely crushed, and they have almost guaranteed themselves Emmys, I would say. I know like TV has never been better than what it is right now, so it might be tough to guarantee that award nowadays, but so we catch up, and I knew, because in the game, after the David incident, it flashes forward in times. Ellie's kind of out of it. She's still shell-shocked from what happened. You see the giraffes, and then you have to deal with one more infected horde. And this is where it differs, where they have a really good conversation about, because Joel has a scar in his head, and he said, the guy that shot at me missed. Turns out that guy was himself. He tried to kill himself, and at the last second he hesitated and missed. And he decided to keep on going. And I really resonated with that. This last year has been really hard. So as someone who has decided to keep on going and to keep chugging along, I definitely resonated with that. But I love that after the David incident, he is fully in dad mode. He's wanting to hear jokes from her. He's telling her these deep stories, telling her about Sarah. And saying her name, that's the thing, is that telling her about Sarah is after, towards the end of the episode, but just saying her name when before Ellie couldn't even say her name, and he didn't want the picture of her, didn't want anything, just wanted to leave the past in the past. And also we start out and we kind of learn it's a little bit of Ellie's origin story, where we see Ashley Johnson, who portrays Ellie in the video game, both motion capture performance and voice. She is pregnant. She runs into a house, and an infected is chasing her, bites her basically while she is giving birth, and she manages to cut the umbilical cord with the knife that Ellie has. It's her knife, and Marlene comes along. She's slowly turning, and she asked Marlene to take care of the baby and to kill her so she doesn't become a zombie. Because apparently I saw in one of the behind the scenes things that the people are still aware of what they're doing, but they just don't have any control over their body. The fungi are just controlling every one of their movements. And what a terrible nightmare existence that must be, is that you are aware cognitively, your brain is still going on, but you have no control over. Oh man, absolutely kill me. Don't let me turn into one of those things. But that was, that's kind of how, kind of explain why she is immune. I was watching it with my friends, and one of them was like, oh, so it's the Blade origin story. And that's pretty true. Blade's mom got bit while she was pregnant with him, and that's why he's a daywalker. And that seems to be true for Ellie. She's the daywalker of The Last of Us. And so they're walking through like this old army medical tent zone, and they get grenaded, like this basically flashbang grenade, and they both get knocked out. And they wake up in the Firefly hospital. Marlene's there, like, how did you make it here? Like, I had, 5 minutes scoring to me, and I still almost got killed. I don't know how you got here. Ellie's being prepped for surgery. They think they can take the cordyceps and, just make a vaccine out of them, basically. Like, she says some stuff about how to do it. But the cordyceps are in the brain, and so Ellie has to die. And this is the one kind of big departure from the game, and they do say so. I will say that Marlene says, we didn't ask her, we just put her under. But Ellie was like in the hospital, asking for Joel, like, is he okay? Is he okay? And then I guess like they injected her with some, sleeping gas or something like that, whatever puts you to sleep. And they were going to operate on her, without telling her what was going on. And I think Marlene would still do that, but in the game the decision was made easier, because in the game, after you fight like the last horde of infected, like you have to fight like 3 bloaters or something like that, and then you're trying to cross in this underground tunnel where like the water's rushing really fast. The bridge gives out, you guys both go underwater. Ellie can't swim, and so like Joel has to save her, and then they wash up on shore. Ellie's like passed out, he's given her CPR, and the Firefly like knocks Joel out, and then Ellie never regains consciousness. They just take her. Marlene's like, oh, that's Ellie and Joel. Get her ready for surgery, basically. And so it kind of takes away any kind of consent Ellie could have given. And that's what I was talking about, like the small differences in the show and the game, making the show have more hope that Joel definitely made the wrong decision for the world. Like where Ellie would have wanted this, even though they basically took away her right to decide in the game. And I think she says it, I feel like she said like, we didn't ask her, but she wants this. I feel like she said that in the show. I can't really remember, but I don't like that she was still awake in the hospital, because that does make a big difference to me. And it's like, I've seen a bunch of videos like breaking this whole thing down, and okay, let me finish. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, because I know it's a big episode. I know it's like, the big thing of the show, obviously. Hey, cat. Joel is getting walked out. He overpowers his security escort and then goes on like basically a killing spree. And this I do like more than the game, or just like I like the perspective of it, because Joel goes back into that early apocalypse Joel, do anything to survive Joel, kill innocent travelers on the road Joel. And in the game, it's you're a protagonist, you're doing like, this third person shooter, the Fireflies are bad guys, and you're going to save Ellie. In this, it was borderline mass shooting documentary, like really horrific footage, people surrendering and Joel still killing them. And I literally just watched the clip from the game. He makes it to the surgery room, and the doctor's like, "What are you doing? Don't." And he shyly grabs like his scalpel, and Joel just kills him like without a second thought. In the game, it's much more like dramatic, where he like runs in front of Joel. He's like, "Stop! I won't let you take her." And then he grabs the scalpel. He's like ready to fight, and that's when you have to make the decision of like, to kill him or not. And I like that in this, like, wasn't gonna matter what the doctor said. Joel was gonna kill him and anyone that stood in his way in any kind of way to get to Ellie. And so I do like that that they're really, I don't know, I like the way it's shot, but they really are making Joel like the absolute bad guy in this. And I'll get to it. Goes downstairs, kills Marlene in a very brutal way, where he shoots her in the gut, and then she's like, "You can just let me go." And this is a thing in the game where she's like, "I'll just let you guys go, I promise. Like, just take the truck and go." He's like, "You'd only come after her," and then kills her. Ellie wakes up in the truck. He tells her like, turns out there's a lot of people that, you know, were quote unquote immune. They couldn't find anything for a cure. Raider, like he adds that in the show, like he adds Raiders attacked us and I barely got you out of there, which I thought was good. You know, I thought was a good touch of like why they had to go and like why she didn't have like her clothes or her backpack or anything like that. But this is where like it's so funny because right when the show came out, you know, scrolling on TikTok, and people have like broken this down to where I guess there are notes, like, you know, little voice recordings, like voice things of like other people that they had tried to experiment on for a vaccine and it hadn't worked. There was a voice note from Marlene saying, no matter what, we have to kill Joel. Like, he can't, because he won't let Ellie go. Like, he's too dangerous to be left alive type thing. They were never going to pay. Like, in the game, you know, you're going to get your guns and your payment for bringing Ellie here. They were never going to pay Joel in any way. And it's so funny. Like, let me look up. Let's see if I can show you guys some screenshots here. Last of Us PS4 surgery room. So, like, I remember seeing that, like, where is it? Like, you look at this here. It's not going to be the best photo, but just, like, you look at this, where this is the PS4 version. You see, like, it's grimy, it's dirty, it's barely held together, and in the show, it's not like that at all. It's very clean, it's very, you know, very usable. And then I remember someone showed, like, a back-to-back where they cleaned it up. They cleaned it up in, like, oh, yo, okay, perfect, sorry. Yeah, I know I'm going off a little tangent here. But look, like, they made it look much nicer. Like, look how dingy it is in the PS4 version. And then they cleaned it up real nice for the PS5 remaster. And I feel like that's saying where it's like the Fireflies weren't that close to making a vaccine and maybe didn't even have the facilities and the means to make the vaccine with this cure. And, you know, even if they did, was Fedra going to let them into quarantine zones to distribute a vaccine? We don't know. They were already getting their butt kicked by Fedra, so how are they even going to fight it or even present them with this cure? And then, you know, with the voice notes of like other people trying it and it not working, like there's a lot that like people were kind of making the case that like no matter what, Joel did make the right decision. But in the end, you know, these are all things that aren't in the show. Who knows if we'll explore them at all, but there are definitely like extra things in the game about that I found really interesting that I didn't even know. TikTok can be very informative sometimes, and I thought that was really interesting. But for me, again, I'm trying to take my bias out of it, but it's really hard when it feels like there was just like, it just hit heavier in the game. And maybe that's because, you know, it's the first time I played it. Maybe it's, you know, I've played it 3 times, but it felt like the last 2 episodes, like, I don't need them to fight hordes of zombies. I don't need Joel to, like, take out 30, 40 dudes on his way to David to try and save Ellie or something like that. But it felt like they were a little bit speed running through these last 2 episodes, or these last 2 huge emotional things, at least in my opinion. For me, like, you know, you spend a little more time with David. You do fight the infected off, and, like, oh, maybe he is a good guy, and then he turns. And that turn is, like, more intense because of that reason. You know, with him finding out that they're cannibals is more intense for that reason. And then for this, just like his conversation with Marlene, and maybe it's just you going through the hospital and really earning your way to Ellie, you know, fighting through all the Fireflies, and just the conversation they had after. I don't know, it felt like I was being sped run a little bit, but other than that, I think they did such a good job adapting this. I can't wait for season 2. I'll probably do a video about season 2, like full of Last of Us 2 spoilers, and I'll leave all the spoilers there and do, you know, in 2 years probably, you know, what my thoughts are going to be on the show, of how they're going to change it, because no spoilers for season 2, but my biggest problem with the game was the narrative structure on it. We're adding a new character. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but how they structure the show, I think is going to be different, because HBO does have that gift of hindsight where how negatively the internet reacted in some really dumb ways where they're like threatening the voice actors. That's stupid. But there are some legitimate complaints about how they structured the story. And that's where my criticisms come in, where I thought the game was masterfully, you know, made and acted and, you know, performed and just some of the narrative stuff of where they choose to like shift focus. That was my biggest problem in The Last of Us 2. But I'm super looking forward to season 2. I absolutely love Joel and Ellie's relationship. I think Bella and Pedro built it exactly how the game did. And sometimes people are going to say stronger, and I'm totally okay with that, with those added conversations. You know, Joel talking about like the differences and the similarities between Sarah and her. And I love that. And, you know, him telling her about, you know, his attempted suicide story. I thought that was a nice touch because I don't believe that was in the game. I'm like 95% sure it wasn't. But I do love that the episode ended exactly the way the game did. And I wonder, I haven't seen too much because the Oscars were on tonight, and I'm wondering if HBO regretted maybe not doing like another Friday thing. You know how they do with the Super Bowl, like doing like a Friday premiere and like having at least Friday and Saturday for people to talk about, because I feel like they're getting a little pushed around by the Oscars right now, which is a shame because this is an amazing show and it deserves the press and the love that it is getting. But I don't know. It's tough for me to not favor the game. And I think I still do, but you know, it's like a 51-49 thing right now. And again, the show did some stuff better. I love the Frank and Bill stuff better than the game. I think Bill's a great cantankerous old fart in the game, just like he is in the show with Nick Offerman. But I absolutely love Frank and Bill's story. It's so great. It was a breath of fresh air that you really needed. Because the game just beats you down relentlessly. Like there's a few moments like the giraffes, you know, or the monkeys or something like that. Basically seeing animals in the game basically is like your only reprieve. And any of the small interactions with Joel and Ellie. But just other than that, the game really just beat you down with the Frank and Bill stuff, with the Henry and Sam stuff. And then obviously with the end where you're just taking the David stuff, obviously. And just taking the whole game in and realizing the true weight of Joel's decision. And the weight could be, you know, according to some gamers that have discovered all the side quests and stories, the weight could be differentiated. But I do love how they shot Joel's rampage in the hospital is going to have a huge effect on season 2. I will say that. And I think that's why they shot it like that. They did. I was a little nervous because they hadn't shown scary Joel too much like they do in the game. Like you see his brutality early on in the game, and they showed it in these last 2 episodes in the perfect way. I thought they did so good. But yeah, overall I give this show an A. I really enjoyed it. And you know what, if you guys have a PS4, have a PS5, I recommend, you know, getting The Last of Us. If you don't feel like spending $60 on the remake, I went and bought the PS4 version. It was like $7 from a local game store that I go to. So I definitely recommend that. It still looks great. You know, the PS4 version still looks great. I have seen the PS5 version. It's gorgeous. But I'd save a little bit of money for Last of Us 2 for PS5, which is also a very good game. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope, as always, it's a 20-minute video, but I hope you got some coherent thoughts out of all my rambling. Really enjoyed it. Great performances. But yeah, really excited for season 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons who are getting this a few days early. Appreciate y'all so much. Have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.